G'day guys, how are ya? Hope you're all having a fantastic evening. Tonight, before I go to sleep, I thought I would share another review with you all, so hopefully you find this one interesting. It's a Belgian film, but I'm going to put it into my French horror category because it's spoken in the French language, English subtitles. So just like another Belgian horror film I have, The Ordeal, it goes into my French collection because some of the actors are French and it's also the French language, so it qualifies in my opinion. It's released in 2010. Not many people talk about this one, unfortunately. Directed by Benjamin Vire. This was his debut feature film, and this is called Cannibal. Now, do not get this confused with the Marion Dora German gore film under the same title. They're completely different films. The only similarities that these two films have is the title. So make sure you know what you're getting yourself in for when buying the film. So the story to the film is as follows. Max is an agoraphobic who lives a secluded existence in the remote Belgian countryside. One night he stumbles upon an unconscious young woman covered in blood. He takes her home to clean her up and take care of her, and begins to develop an attraction to this mysterious stranger. When she runs out in the middle of the night, Max follows her and witnesses an act of shocking violence and sexuality. Horrified and yet fascinated, Max becomes obsessed with this dangerous beauty and begins a bizarre romance between fear and tenderness. However, when she is abducted, it soon becomes apparent that Max is not the only one with a keen interest in this girl and her horrific, deviant appetites. Max must once again face his own dark and violent past. So we have Max, who is the main character. He is agoraphobic. He doesn't like to deal with any people, and he's living in a very secluded area in the Belgian countryside. He's in the middle of a forest, and he wants nothing to do with anybody else. He's cut himself off from his family. At the start of the film, some of his family members try and knock on his door to tell him some news. He gets freaked out, and he wants nothing to do with them. So obviously, this guy has some major issues. So he passes his days by practicing his golf swing in the forest. So no one bothers him, and it really does paint a very boring and lonely atmosphere that this guy is accustomed to. So he's practicing his golf swing one afternoon, and he comes across this woman, unconscious, laying in the middle of the forest covered in blood. He's freaked out. He has no idea what the hell to do, so he ends up taking her back to his house and looking after her. There is a very bizarre sort of connection between the two. The Max ends up naming her Bianca because she's reluctant to tell him her real name, which gives an indication that she has a lot to hide. So he ends up calling her Bianca, and Bianca and Max start this connection. Now, it's a very odd sort of connection. They're both outcasts, so they have something a little bit in common, that they're both a little bit strange. One night, Bianca makes a run for it out of the house, and Max follows her because he's worried about her. He comes across this car that's parked. It's pitch black, and he knocks on the window to see if the person driving the car has seen her. To Max's horror, the woman is in back of the car with the driver, and they're having sex, and not only are they having sex, but Bianca is feasting on his flesh. So this is where Max uncovers her shocking truth. The truth is that she is a cannibal. So Max is absolutely horrified. Bianca is chasing Max, begging for forgiveness and trying to tell him that she wants to overcome his problem. He is absolutely freaked out, and instead of reporting her, he ends up helping her out. He disposes of the body and the car, and he ends up helping her out with her need for human flesh by getting rid of the evidence of her future hookups with men that she wants to eat. So there is a very bizarre connection between the two, and there's a bit of romance because Max is falling in love with her, but she is still very distant from him. She's kind of hiding a lot of stuff. So you feel that although there is a connection, it really isn't quite right. Later on in the film, Bianca is kidnapped by some gangsters, which is connected to Max's past. I'm not going to go into the reasons why. But then, in order to get her back, Max has to travel into the city and confront the demons of his past in order to get her back. So that's as far as I'm going to go. Synopsis. If you want to know more, I would highly recommend you go out there, pick up a copy for yourself, and see how the film unfolds. Now my thoughts on this movie. Had no idea what it was about. Well, I knew it was about, had no idea what I was to expect. So no expectation levels is a good thing. Now, if you're a fan of French horror, don't let the fact that this is Belgian put you off, because it has a very French horror flavour. So it shouldn't be a problem. It is very low budget, but I feel that the low budget really did benefit the film greatly in the overall mood that the film was trying to portray. Now, the film centers around, as I said, an agoraphobic, and he's very lonely, and he lives a very secluded, sort of boring life. And that's exactly what the cinematography captured. It really did put the viewer in the same sort of mood that the main character was in. Now, it's very grainy, very raw and gritty, and of very dull colours, which is exactly what you want from a film of this nature. Now, Max, there's not a lot of depth to the character. There's not a lot of depth to any of the characters, which I think is a slight downfall for the film. I think it would have benefited greatly from more character development, and that really does prevent it from being a great film. The characters, although, as I said, not much depth, I could still feel a connection between the two, and it seemed sincere that both of these were outcasts. They really didn't connect well with the outside world, yet they found something inside each other to connect with, and that's the romantic side of the film. But don't let that put you off the fact that it's a romance film. The romantic side of it doesn't overtake the horror side of it, and the horror side of it doesn't take over the romantic side. So it really does make a unique kind of horror film in that it's not one or the other dominant sort of horror film or a romance film. It's a fine blend, and I actually found myself really enjoying it. Now, the acting was very, very good. From what the actors had to play with, I thought, they nailed it. The main character of Max, he was very remorseful of what he was doing, and you kind of felt sorry for the guy. And you felt sorry for this woman because her need for human flesh, she was really remorseful, and she didn't like it, but it's just a compulsion that she had, that she must, eat people. And that was really, really terrifying because you didn't know if she was going to turn on Max, and Max didn't know that either. So he was very reluctant to get into a romantic kind of bond with this woman because, this woman could have just turned on him at any moment. So it really did give the main actress a very primal kind of feel of an animal, that she could turn on Max at any given moment, which put him in a lot of danger. And that was a real subtle kind of horror element that the director brought to the film. So I thought, that was really, really good. Some cameos from Philippe Nahon, who is a French cinematic legend. I love the guy. He's in it only for about 5 minutes, but I really appreciated the cameo, and it's pretty cool that he come back to do a small role in such a low-budget kind of film. Fans of shaky camera, or I should say people who hate shaky camera, you probably won't like this one, but I thought it added to the environment and the actual atmosphere. So I really liked it. I don't mind shaky cameras, but I know a few of you out there really hate it, so just be careful of that. Now, I have to apologise, my nose is just really itchy. So all in all, with the way it was shot, I thought, considering the budget, the director pulled off a very skillfully directed film, and it really does show that this guy has a bright future in cinema. And I'm sorry, for God's sake, my nose is... Anyway, yeah, what I didn't like about the film, apart from the fact there wasn't much character development, is the fact that the last quarter of the film, it goes black and white. Now, I can kind of appreciate the unique sort of approach that the director was taking, but for me, it felt a little bit too ambitious, and this is the problem that another Cannibal film had called Trouble Every Day. It was very, very artsy, and it tried to be a little bit too good, too tricky for its own good. Now, this film doesn't unravel because of that, but it had a danger of doing that, and I think that it was an experiment, and I'm glad that the director only used a quarter of the film to experiment with this. I don't think it quite came off. I was a little bit confused as to why he went this approach. Maybe he was trying to make it even more depressing towards the end. I don't know, but I really would have rathered it just be in the normal colouring that the whole feature was going for. So, it's a little bit pretentious towards the end than the way that the director made the film. Having said that, it's not a big flaw, so it's not going to, ruin the experience for you. So, the gore, there are some very nasty scenes, but it's not an overly gory film. As the title of Cannibal, you're probably expecting a lot of flesh eating. There are some very nasty scenes, but it's not overly violent. It's more of a romantic sort of horror film, so be very careful going into it and know what you're getting yourself in for. But there is enough gore in there, I think, to satisfy gorehounds. So all in all, I was really impressed with this. It's not a great film. It is good. It's worth watching at least once. I don't think it's worth an expensive buy. I actually bought this quite expensive off Amazon UK. I don't regret it because I'm a foreign horror buff. so I have to get everything that comes out. So yeah, definitely give it a go. Definitely try before you buy, because I can see a lot of people being disappointed by this, and a lot of people like me being surprised by it. So definitely a memorable film, but it certainly doesn't come without its flaws. Alright guys, that's my review. I hope you enjoyed it, and until next time, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you later.